They slipped.
That was the first lie. The second came when he screamed for help, 3 full seconds after we hit the water. I remember the cold. I remember my granddaughter Tessa grabbing my coat. I remember the gray sky tilting. But mostly, I remember my son's eyes. No shock, no guilt, just calculation. Strangers pulled us out. The ambulance came. Evan rode with us, his hand on my shoulder, his voice steady and concerned. His shoes were completely dry. At the hospital, a nurse appeared with a folder. "Your son called ahead," she said. "About signing authority?" I looked at Evan. He smiled. The paperwork was already printed. If it was an accident, why was everything ready? Before we begin, if you could tap subscribe and like, it would mean so much to me. And if you don't mind, please leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. May health and happiness find their way to you right where you are. All right then, let's begin today's story. Chapter 2. The folder sat on the hospital tray table. Blue plastic, 3 inches thick. Evan pulled a chair close to my bed. His smile was patient. His voice was soft. "Mom, I know this is overwhelming, but we need to get ahead of the bills." Lila appeared in the doorway. She carried a pen. Her perfume filled the small room. "Just a few signatures," she said. "We'll handle everything." I reached for the folder. Evan's hand pressed it flat against the table. "Let me explain first," he said. "Goal, read the documents before signing anything." Obstacle. Evan and Lila blocked the pages, flipping too fast, pointing at highlighted lines. Clock. The discharge nurse said I could leave in 2 hours if paperwork was clear. I heard words. Power of attorney. Medical decisions. Financial access. Beneficiary updates. My head still ached from the cold water. "Why does this say the request was dated last week?" I asked. Evan's smile tightened. "That's just processing time." Lila clicked the pen. A folded piece of paper slid under my blanket. I looked up. Tessa stood in the doorway. Her eyes were red. Her hands shook. She turned and walked away. Evan didn't notice. He was already turning pages. "Sign here, Mom. And here." I pulled the blanket higher. My fingers found the note. "Don't sign anything. Please." The door opened again. A woman in a gray cardigan stepped inside. She carried a small notebook. Her face was kind but firm. "Marilyn, I'm Pastor Ruth, from the church. I heard about the accident." Evan stood quickly. "We're in the middle of something." Pastor Ruth smiled at him. Then she looked at me. "I brought your favorite tea. And I thought you might want someone to sit with you." She placed a thermos on the side table. Her hand rested briefly on the folder. "Heavy reading for a hospital room," she said quietly. Lila's jaw tightened. "Family business." Pastor Ruth pulled a chair to the other side of my bed. She opened her notebook. "Marilyn, do you have a lawyer?" The room went silent. Evan's voice turned cold. "She doesn't need a lawyer. She has us." Pastor Ruth wrote something down. She tore the page out. She handed it to me. A name, a phone number. Nora Patel. "She's very good. And very careful." I folded the paper. Evan grabbed the folder. His face flushed red. "We're done here." He walked out. Lila followed. The door swung shut. Pastor Ruth poured tea into a small cup. "Drink this first," she said. "Then we'll talk." I unfolded Tessa's note. Underneath the warning, she'd written something else. They practiced the story in the car. My hands shook. Pastor Ruth saw the note. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded. "You're going to need help," she said. "Real help." I looked at the closed door. "He's my son." "I know," Pastor Ruth said. "That's what makes it hard." She stood and locked the door from the inside. Then she sat back down. "Now, tell me everything." Chapter 3. Sheriff Ben Klein arrived at my house 3 days after I came home. He wore a dark jacket. His badge was clipped to his belt. He carried a small notebook, just like Pastor Ruth. "Mrs. Caldwell, I'd like to ask a few questions." "If that's all right." I made coffee. My hands were steadier now. We sat at the kitchen table. The morning light came through the window. I could see the harbor from here. The water looked gray and cold. Goal, tell the truth without sounding crazy. Obstacle. I was terrified of accusing my own son. Clock Evan had texted twice already that morning. He wanted to stop by and talk. Sheriff Klein opened his notebook. The marina incident. Walk me through it, I told him. The railing, the shove, the cold, Tessa grabbing my coat. Evan said you slipped. I didn't slip. The sheriff wrote something down. Did anyone else see what happened? Strangers pulled us out. I don't know their names. He nodded slowly. And after? At the hospital? I told him about the folder, the signatures, the paperwork that was already printed. Sheriff Klein leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Caldwell, I've known your family a long time. This is serious. I know. If I move forward, things will get ugly. I looked out at the water. They already are. He stood. He walked to the window. The marina has a maintenance camera. It faces the main dock. My heart jumped. Can you get the footage? I can request it. But I need to know you're sure. I thought about Evan's dry shoes, his delayed scream, his cold eyes. I'm sure. The sheriff nodded. He closed his notebook. One more thing. Does your son have access to your accounts? Not yet. He tried. Keep it that way. He walked to the door. Then he stopped. If he shows up and you feel unsafe, you call me. Understand? Yes. He left. I sat at the table. My coffee was cold. The door opened. I jumped. It was Tessa. She carried a backpack. Her face was pale. Grandma, I need to tell you something. She sat down. Her hands twisted together. The night before the marina, I heard them fighting. Your parents? She nodded. Dad said they were going to lose the house. Mom said they needed to close your credit card. Then Dad said something about the will. My stomach dropped. What about the will? He said if something happened to you, everything would be easier. The room felt smaller. Tessa's eyes filled with tears. I didn't think he meant it. I thought he was just mad. I reached across the table. I held her hand. You didn't do anything wrong. I should have told you. You're telling me now. She wiped her eyes. Mom took my phone that night. She said I was grounded. But I heard her tell Dad to delete the group chat. What group chat? I don't know. But she was scared. The front door rattled. Someone was trying the lock, then pounding. Mom, open the door! Evan's voice. Tessa froze. I stood slowly. I walked to the door. I didn't open it. I'm resting, Evan. Come back later. We need to talk. Now, I said later. Silence. Then his voice, low and tight. You're making a mistake. I heard his footsteps on the porch. A car door slammed. Tessa was shaking. I sat back down. I held her hand again. You're safe here. She nodded. But we both knew that wasn't true. Chapter 4. Nora Patel's office smelled like paper and strong coffee. She was younger than I expected. Sharp blazer. Calm eyes. She shook my hand firmly. Pastor Ruth told me you might call. I sat down. The chair was soft. The walls were covered in law books. Goal: understand what Evan could actually do with the documents he wanted me to sign. Obstacle: I barely understood the legal terms. Clock Evan had sent another text. Coming by at noon. We need to finish the paperwork. Nora opened the folder I'd brought, the one Evan left at the hospital. She read in silence. Her expression didn't change. Then she looked up. Mrs. Caldwell, if you had signed this, your son would have full control. Bank accounts, property, medical decisions, everything. My throat tightened. He said it was just to help with bills. This goes far beyond bills. She flipped to another page. There's a beneficiary change request here. Life insurance. It's dated 6 days before the marina incident. The room tilted. That's not possible. I didn't sign anything. Nora's jaw tightened. The signature looks practiced. But the witness line is incomplete. She pulled out a notepad. Have you updated your will recently? Not in years. Do you have the original? In my desk. At home? Get it. Today. Bring it here. I'll make copies and store one in my safe. She wrote quickly. We're going to freeze your credit. Change your bank login. Update your emergency contacts. And file a notice with the probate court that you are not incapacitated and any documents claiming otherwise are fraudulent. I felt dizzy. He's my son. Nora's voice softened. I know. But right now, he's also a threat. She slid a paper across the desk. This is a temporary protective order. It prevents him from accessing your home, your accounts, or your medical information without your written consent. I stared at the paper. If I do this, he'll know I don't trust him. Mrs. Caldwell, he already knows. I thought about the water, the cold, his eyes. I signed the paper. Nora made a copy. She put the original in a folder. One more thing. Do you have anyone who can stay with you? Tess has been visiting. Good. Don't be alone. I stood to leave. How bad can this get? Nora didn't smile. If he's desperate enough to push you off a dock, it can get very bad. I walked out into the cold afternoon. Pastor Ruth was waiting in the parking lot. She'd offered to drive me. How did it go? She's filing a protective order. Pastor Ruth nodded. Good. We drove in silence for a while. Then she spoke. Marilyn, I need to tell you something. Evan came to the church last week. My chest tightened. What did he want? He asked about selling property. He wanted to know how quickly a house could close. I closed my eyes. He was planning this. Yes. We pulled into my driveway. Evan's car was parked at the curb. He was sitting on my porch. Pastor Ruth put the car in park. Do you want me to stay? Yes. We got out together. Evan stood. His smile was tight. Mom, we need to talk. Not today. You can't avoid me forever. Pastor Ruth stepped forward. She's not avoiding you. She's protecting herself. Evan's face darkened. This is family business. Then treat her like family. His hands clenched. Mom, if you keep listening to these people, you're going to regret it. I unlocked my door. Evan, go home. Not until we settle this. I stepped inside. Pastor Ruth followed. I closed the door. Evan pounded once. Twice. Then his footsteps faded. Pastor Ruth locked the deadbolt. You did the right thing. I wasn't sure, but I was sure of one thing. My son's love had conditions, and I'd just broken them. Chapter 5. I noticed the changes 3 days later. Small things. Wrong things. The kitchen junk drawer was organized. I never organized that drawer. Mail was missing. 2 envelopes, both from the bank. The spare key hook was empty. Goal: figure out if someone had been in my house. Obstacle: I couldn't prove it. Everything could be coincidence. Clock: Lila had left a voicemail. We'd like to take you to tour an assisted living facility. Just for safety. I called Nora. They're escalating, she said. Change your locks today. Pastor Ruth drove me to the hardware store. We bought new deadbolts. A locksmith came that afternoon. While he worked, I searched the house. In the trash, under coffee grounds, I found something. A half-shredded document. I pieced it together on the counter. Life insurance beneficiary change form. My signature. Badly forged. Evan's name in the beneficiary box. Dated 2 weeks before the marina. I took a photo with my phone. I sent it to Nora. She called back in 5 minutes. That's evidence. Don't throw it away. They were in my house, probably. Can you stay somewhere else tonight? I'm not leaving my home. Then don't be alone. I called Tessa. Can you come over? Mom's watching me. She took my car keys. My stomach dropped. Are you safe? A long pause. I don't know. Tessa, if you need to leave, you call me. Or call Sheriff Klein. Promise me. I promise. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen. The new locks gleamed. But I didn't feel safer. That night, Evan called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Mom, this is getting ridiculous. Lila found a really nice place. Independent living. You'd have your own apartment. We just want you to be safe. His voice was smooth. Reasonable. But I heard the edge underneath. If you keep pushing us away, people are going to think you're confused. That you need help. Think about how that looks. The message ended. I deleted it. Then I called it back and saved it again. Nora said evidence mattered. At midnight, I heard a car in the driveway. I looked out the window. Evan's car. Engine off. Headlights dark. He sat there for 20 minutes, just watching my house. Then he drove away. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, a social worker called. Mrs. Caldwell? I'm following up on a wellness concern. Someone reported you might be living unsafely. My blood went cold. Who reported that? I can't share that information. But I'd like to schedule a home visit. I'm fine. It's just a precaution. She came 2 days later. She was kind, professional. She asked questions. She looked at my kitchen, my medications, my bills. Everything seems in order, she said. But I saw her write something in her notes. Has anyone expressed concern about your memory? My son has. And? My memory is fine. He's trying to control me. She looked at me carefully. Mrs. Caldwell, if you ever feel unsafe, there are resources. She left a pamphlet. Elder abuse hotline numbers. After she left, I called Nora. They're building a case that I'm incompetent. I know. That's why we're building ours. What if they win? They won't. But her voice was tight. That night, Lila came to my door. She didn't knock. She used a key. My new lock stopped her. She rang the bell. I opened it with the chain on. Marilyn, we need to talk. Woman to woman. No, this can all go away. Just sign limited power of attorney. We'll handle the bills. You keep control of everything else. Drama over. No. Her face hardened. You're being selfish. Evan is your son. He's trying to help. He pushed me into the ocean. She laughed, cold and sharp. You slipped. Everyone saw it. Not everyone. She leaned close to the gap in the door. If you keep this up, you'll lose him. Is that what you want? I closed the door. I locked it. She stood there for a long moment. Then she walked away. I sat on the floor, my back against the door. Tessa's words echoed in my head. They practiced the story in the car. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a plan. Chapter 6. Sheriff Klein came to my house on a gray morning. He looked serious, tired. Mrs. Caldwell, I have the marina footage. My heart pounded. Goal: find out what the camera showed. Obstacle: the truth might destroy my family. Clock Evan had filed a counter-complaint. He claimed I was making false accusations due to cognitive decline. We sat at the kitchen table. Sheriff Klein opened his laptop. He turned it toward me. This is from the maintenance camera. It faces the dock. He pressed play. The footage was grainy, black and white, timestamp in the corner. I saw myself, Tessa beside me, Evan behind us. We walked to the railing. Evan pointed at something in the water. Tessa leaned forward. Then Evan's arm moved. Not a stumble, not an accident, a push. Firm, deliberate. Both of us went over. Evan stood still for 3 seconds. Then he screamed and ran forward. Sheriff Klein paused the video. That's not a slip. I couldn't speak. He closed the laptop. I ran his financials. Public records. Evan's in deep. Maxed credit cards. Mortgage 90 days overdue. A lawsuit from a former business partner. How much does he owe? North of $200,000. The room spun. And my life insurance? $350,000. With you as the policyholder and him trying to change the beneficiary. I felt sick. Sheriff Klein's voice was gentle. Mrs. Caldwell, I need to ask. Do you want to press charges? I looked out the window. At the harbor. At the town I'd lived in for 40 years. If I do, everyone will know. Yes, he'll hate me. Probably. I closed my eyes. He already tried to kill me. Yes. I opened my eyes. Then I don't have a choice. Sheriff Klein nodded. He made a call. An hour later, a detective arrived. A woman. She recorded my statement. She asked clear, careful questions. When she left, Sheriff Klein stayed. There's something else. What? We talked to the rescuers. The man who pulled you out. He's a commercial fisherman. He said Evan's shoes were dry. And he remembers Evan asking if anyone had a phone to film the rescue. Why would he want that? Proof of his panic. For the story, I felt cold again. This was planned. Every piece of it. Pastor Ruth arrived an hour later. She brought soup. She sat with me while I cried. I keep thinking I failed him, I said. As a mother, you didn't fail him. He made his choices. But why? Money reveals character. It doesn't create it. That night, Tessa called. Her voice was shaking. Grandma, they know. Know what? About the charges. Dad's furious. He's throwing things. Mom's on the phone with a lawyer. Are you safe? I locked my door. Tessa, pack a bag. I'm coming to get you. Mom won't let me leave. I looked at Pastor Ruth. She nodded. I'll call Sheriff Klein. 20 minutes later, a deputy arrived at Evan's house. He escorted Tessa out. Evan stood on the porch. His face was red. His fists were clenched. "You can't do this." The deputy didn't answer. Tessa climbed into my car. She was shaking. I drove us home. That night, she slept in the guest room. I sat in the kitchen. The house was quiet. My phone buzzed. A text from Evan. "You'll regret this." I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Nora. She responded immediately. "Save everything. We're going to need it." I looked at Tessa's closed door. Some lessons don't arrive gently. Chapter 7. The rumors started at church. Pastor Ruth heard them first. People are saying you're confused, that you fell and blamed Evan because you were embarrassed. I stood in the fellowship hall, coffee cup shaking in my hand. Goal: protect my reputation before Evan destroyed it completely. Obstacle. In a small town, rumors move faster than truth. Clock: the preliminary hearing was in 10 days. Who's saying that? Lila's been talking. She's told half the town you refused medical advice, that you're paranoid. A woman I'd known for 20 years walked past. She didn't make eye contact. Another gave me a sad smile, the kind you give someone who's lost their mind. I left church early. At the grocery store, the cashier asked if I was doing okay. The pharmacist mentioned memory concerns. At the diner, the waitress brought me decaf without asking. She patted my hand. "We're all praying for you, honey." I wasn't confused, but everyone thought I was. Nora called that afternoon. Evan's lawyer is pushing the cognitive decline angle. They're going to request a competency evaluation. Can they do that? They can request it. The judge decides. My hands shook. What if I fail? You won't, but we need to be prepared. She sent me to a doctor. Not my regular doctor, an independent specialist. He tested my memory, my reasoning, my awareness. 2 hours of questions. At the end, he smiled. "Mrs. Caldwell, there's nothing wrong with your mind." Then why is everyone treating me like I'm broken? Because it's easier than believing a son would hurt his mother. He wrote his report. He sent it to Nora and the court. But the damage was done. That week, the social worker came back. "Mrs. Caldwell, I received another call. Someone said you're keeping your granddaughter against her parents' wishes. She came here to be safe. Is there a custody order?" "No." "Then technically, her parents can request she return home." Tessa appeared in the hallway. Her face was pale. "I'm not going back." The social worker looked uncomfortable. "You're 17. You have some say. But if your parents push this, it could get complicated." After she left, Tessa cried. "I'm making it worse for you." "No. You're the only thing keeping me sane." That night, Evan sent an email. Not to me, to my sister in California, to my old co-workers, to church members. The subject line concerned about Mom. He wrote that I'd become paranoid, aggressive, that I'd falsely accused him to cover my own confusion, that he was heartbroken but trying to get me help. He sounded reasonable, loving, worried. My sister called. "Mari, what's going on?" I told her everything. "That doesn't sound like Evan." "I know." A long pause. "Do you have proof?" "Yes." "Then use it. Because right now, you sound exactly how he described you." She hung up. I sat in the dark. Pastor Ruth came over. She brought dinner. She sat with me. "This is the hardest part," she said. "When the lie sounds more believable than the truth." "I'm so tired." "I know. What if I lose?" "You won't." "But what if I do?" She took my hand. "Then we'll deal with it. Together." The next morning, I recorded a video. I sat in my kitchen. I spoke clearly. I stated my full name, the date, my address. I explained what happened. The push, the dry shoes, the paperwork, the financials. I saved the video in 3 places. Nora said evidence mattered, so I gathered every piece. Texts, emails, the forged insurance form, the voicemail threats. I put them in a folder, and I waited for the hearing. Evan could call me crazy, but I had the truth. And in 10 days, everyone would see it. Chapter 8. Nora's office was full of documents, stacks on the desk, copies in folders, highlighted pages. "This is what we have," she said, "and this is what we're filing." Goal: build an airtight case before Evan's lawyer twisted the story. Obstacle: The court system moves slowly. Evan moved fast. Clock the hearing was in 3 days. Nora walked me through the plan. First, we show the video, then the financials, then the forged insurance form, then Tessa's testimony. Will they let Tessa testify? She's 17. The judge will allow it if she's willing. She is. Nora nodded. We're also filing a restraining order. Full protection. Evan cannot contact you, cannot come near your home, cannot access any of your accounts or property. What if he violates it? Then he goes to jail. She pulled out another paper. I've updated your will. New witnesses. New executor. Pastor Ruth agreed to serve. I signed it. Nora locked it in her safe. One more thing. I contacted your insurance company. The beneficiary change request was never processed. They flagged it as suspicious. Relief washed over me. So he didn't succeed? Not with that. But he tried. She closed the folder. Marilyn, you need to understand something. Even if we win, this will hurt. The town will take sides. Your family will fracture. Some people will never believe you. I know. And Evan will fight back. Probably for years. I looked at her. If I don't fight now, I might not survive to fight later. She nodded. Then let's make sure you win. That afternoon, Pastor Ruth and I went to the bank. I closed the joint account Evan had access to. I opened a new one. New passwords. New security questions. The bank manager was kind but careful. Mrs. Caldwell, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. It's just that your son called yesterday. He seemed very concerned. I'm sure he did. I signed the forms. At home, I changed every digital password. Email, phone, cloud storage. I set up two-factor authentication. Nora's words echoed. Evidence matters. That evening, Tessa and I sat on the porch. The air was cold. The harbor was quiet. Are you scared? She asked. Yes, me too. I put my arm around her. Whatever happens, you did the right thing. Dad's going to hate me. Maybe, but you'll know you told the truth. She leaned against me. Grandma, what if he wins? He won't. But what if he does? I didn't have a good answer, so I told her the truth. Then we'll figure it out. Together. The next morning, Sheriff Klein called. I have an update. The district attorney is reviewing the case. They're considering charges. Attempted fraud. Elder exploitation. Possibly attempted harm. How long will that take? Weeks. Maybe months. But the restraining order hearing is still on schedule. Good. He paused. Mrs. Caldwell, Evans hired a very good lawyer. He's going to make you look bad. I know. You need to stay calm. Answer clearly. Don't get emotional. I'll try. And Marilyn? Yes? You're doing the right thing. I wasn't sure. But I was sure of one thing. I'd rather lose everything than give him control. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table. I drank tea. I watched the clock. At 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Drop the charges, or we'll make sure everyone knows you're unstable. I forwarded it to Nora. She replied immediately. Screenshot everything. This is harassment. I did. Then I turned off my phone. I went to the window. I looked out at the dark street. Evan's car wasn't there, but I felt watched anyway. Tomorrow, everything would change. I just wasn't sure how. Chapter 9. The courthouse was small. Old wood. High ceilings. Cold air. I sat in the hallway with Pastor Ruth and Nora. My hands were shaking. Tessa sat beside me. She wore a gray sweater. Her hair was pulled back. You okay? I asked. She nodded. But she wasn't. Goal, present the truth clearly and calmly. Obstacle Evans' lawyer was already inside, setting the narrative. Clock the hearing started in 10 minutes. Step 1. The trap closes. Evan arrived. He wore a dark suit. His face was calm. Leela walked beside him, polished and composed. He didn't look at me. His lawyer was tall, sharp, expensive. They went inside. Nora squeezed my hand. Remember, stay calm. Answer the questions. Let the evidence speak. We entered the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected. The judge sat behind a tall desk. A court reporter typed silently. Evan sat at one table. I sat at the other. The judge looked at both of us. This is a preliminary hearing for a restraining order and related protective measures. Mr. Caldwell, you're represented. Mrs. Caldwell, you're represented. Let's proceed. Step 2. Evidence appears. Nora stood. She presented the marina video first. The judge watched in silence. The push was clear. Deliberate. No stumble. No accident. Evan's lawyer objected. The angle is unclear. My client was gesturing. Mrs. Caldwell misinterpreted his movement due to her recent confusion. Nora didn't flinch. Then let's address the confusion claim. She submitted the cognitive evaluation. Clean. Clear. No impairment. She submitted the forged insurance form, the financial records, the texts, the threatening voicemail. The pile of evidence grew. Evan's lawyer shifted. Your Honor, this is a family dispute. Mrs. Caldwell is upset about normal financial conversations and has escalated unnecessarily. Step 3. Pressure turns public. Nora called me to the stand. I swore to tell the truth. She asked simple questions. Mrs. Caldwell, did you slip at the marina? No. Did you authorize the power of attorney documents? No. Did you request your son's financial assistance? No. Did you feel safe around your son after the incident? No. Evan's lawyer stood for cross-examination. He smiled. Polite. Calm. Mrs. Caldwell, isn't it true you've been under significant stress since your husband's death? Yes. And isn't it possible that stress affected your perception? No. You're certain? Yes. He paused. Isn't it true you refused medical advice at the hospital? I refused to sign documents I didn't understand. Because you were confused? Because they were fraudulent. His smile tightened. Mrs. Caldwell, your son loves you. Why would he hurt you? I looked at Evan. He looked away. Because he needed money. And I was in the way. Step 4. Antagonist denies and escalates. Evan took the stand. He denied everything. I would never hurt my mother. She slipped. I tried to save her. I've only ever tried to help. His voice broke. This is destroying our family. He looked at the judge. My mother is confused. She needs help. I'm begging the court to see that. It was a good performance. For a moment, I thought the judge believed him. Step 5. Witness or document flips it. Nora called Tessa. She was nervous. Her voice was quiet. But she was clear. I was there. On the dock. I saw my father push my grandmother. Evan's lawyer interrupted. You're a minor. You're living with your grandmother. You're biased. Tessa's voice grew stronger. I also heard them planning it. The night before. My mother said if something happened, the house would be theirs. The courtroom went silent. Evan's face turned red. His lawyer whispered to him urgently. Tessa continued. They practiced the story in the car. My mother told my father exactly what to say. Step 6. Consequences hit. The judge looked at Evan. Mr. Caldwell, do you have a response? Evan stood. His calm shattered. She's lying. She's been poisoned against me. My mother turned her against me. His lawyer tried to pull him back down. Evan shook him off. This is insane. I'm her son. I deserve respect. The judge's face hardened. Mr. Caldwell, sit down. No, this is... Sit down. Evan sat. His chest heaved. The mask was gone. Step 7. Quiet aftershock. The judge reviewed the evidence one more time. Then she spoke. Based on the video footage, the financial records, the witness testimony, and Mr. Caldwell's behavior in this courtroom, I'm granting the restraining order. She looked at Evan. You are prohibited from contacting Mrs. Caldwell, from entering her property, from accessing her accounts or medical information. Violation will result in immediate arrest. She looked at Nora. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney for criminal review. The gavel came down. It was over. Evan stared at me. His eyes were cold. Then he walked out. Lila followed. Tessa started crying. I held her. Pastor Ruth put her hand on my shoulder. You did it. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. We walked out of the courthouse into the cold afternoon. People stared. Some looked away. Others whispered. I got into Nora's car. What happens now? I asked. Now you rebuild. I looked back at the courthouse. Evan was gone. But the damage remained. Chapter 10. 3 weeks later, I sat in my kitchen. The house was quiet, peaceful. The new locks held. The restraining order held. Evan hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't appeared. The district attorney filed charges. Attempted elder exploitation. Fraud. Filing a false report. His trial was scheduled for spring. I didn't know if I'd attend. Tessa lived with me now, officially. Her parents didn't fight it. She was finishing her senior year, applying to colleges, starting to smile again. Some mornings I forgot what happened. Then I'd see the harbor, the gray water, the dock, and I'd remember. Pastor Ruth stopped by most afternoons. We drank tea. We didn't always talk. Sometimes silence was enough. The town slowly moved on. Some people believed me. Some didn't. I stopped caring which. One morning I walked to the diner. The waitress brought me regular coffee. Not decaf. She didn't pat my hand. It was progress. At the bank, the manager nodded respectfully. Mrs. Caldwell. Good morning. No pity, no concern. Just normal. I was learning what mattered. Tessa came home from school that afternoon. She was excited. I got into the state university. Full scholarship. I hugged her. Your grandmother would be so proud. She pulled back. You mean you're proud? Yes, I am. We made dinner together. Pasta. Salad. Nothing fancy. We ate at the table. We talked about her classes, her friends, her plans, normal things, safe things. After dinner, we sat on the porch. The air was warmer now. Spring was coming. Do you miss him? Tessa asked. I knew she meant Evan. I miss who I thought he was. Me too. We sat in silence. Then she asked, do you think he'll ever change? I don't know. Would you forgive him if he did? I thought about it. Forgiveness doesn't mean giving someone access. She nodded slowly. I'm learning that. That night I updated my will one final time. Tessa was listed as my primary beneficiary. Pastor Ruth as executor. Nora as trustee. People I trusted. People who earned it. I signed the papers. Then I locked them away. The next morning, I walked to the marina. I hadn't been back since the incident. The dock looked the same. The water was still gray. I stood at the railing. I looked down. The cold didn't scare me anymore. Neither did falling. I'd already survived the worst. A man walked past. The fisherman who'd pulled me out. He recognized me. You doing okay? Yes, thank you. Good. He kept walking. I stayed a moment longer. Then I turned around, and I walked home. There's a lesson I learned late. Love without boundaries becomes a weapon. And surviving sometimes means choosing yourself even when it breaks your heart. What would you have done? Thank you for listening. Take gentle care of yourself today.